Hello, everybody. We are going to start today's discussion with a very favorite topic of mine, which is in international business, in cross-cultural management, in trying to develop somebody's communication skills, in dealing with cross-country managers, in dealing with every situation that would be involving in making a business decision is understanding the determinants of culture. So by determinants of culture, we mean that the factors the features that makes us who we are, that makes us behave in a certain manner, and because we behave, we look, we act in a certain manner, the products that we consume, the business that we look for, the services that we require is also affected by the features that we have, and those features are kind of what makes us what we are. That is the effect of culture, and that is how you know me as a Bangladeshi, how you would know somebody as we popularly say anybody who was white skin, we would call them a foreigner. So what makes them, what are the features, what do they do, what do they look like, and why should we know this as a business student? It says that we have to understand these determinants of culture, because that's exactly what it says. Why? It says the host country's culture matter. Host countries where you and me, we want to expand, we want to export our products there. It matters for because this is a devising strategy, and this is an expansion strategy. So if we want to expand to a foreign country, which we have covered in globalization, we need to know why this country, how this country behaves, and based on my data that comes back as their cultural feature, I have to design my product, I have to design my business strategy accordingly. So let's start. There are 8 determinants of culture. Some of them I have taken from our textbook from Charles W.L. Hill, and some of them, as I have started reading and studying more on it, I realized that these are also very important parts of culture. Some of them also have their sources, and I would also share a PDF file with you, which is a very interesting case on separate companies, how they could not sustain their business because they did not consider the cultural determinants in designing their business. It will be a bit long lecture, but I hope that will be interesting. Let's start. The first business that we'll have, the first determinant, the first factor that we will know is aesthetic. Okay, so aesthetic clearly means my sense of beauty, what I see as beauty. You can see it says the aesthetic related to artistic taste of a culture. Aesthetic relates to your senses, our senses, and appreciation of the artistic nature of something, including its smell, taste, or ambience. So you go to a restaurant, you decide to sit with your partners, with your business partners, with your clients for a meeting, and it's very important where do you take them to. It's very important what you think would be pretty in your eyes would also have to be looking nice in the eyes of your client, that might not be following the same aesthetic sense that you do. And when you do that, the business deal might end up in a failure. There are so many times that I've wondered why someone would buy a certain color of dress, and then again that dress has become very popular. So that means my sense of beauty doesn't have to be as same as yours, but that does not mean the businessman who's trying to target me to be his potential customer should divert his strategy towards you, because I'm also a part of his business strategy. I'll show you a very funny example of aesthetic and how it should matter to us. There's a film scene. If it is too long, then I'm going to cut it short, and let's see. Let's watch it. So it's a French restaurant that Mr. Bean is there, and you can see that's a live oyster. That's considered to be a delicacy in French cuisine. You just have to add a bit of lemon, and you're supposed to taste the ocean. Look like he likes the ocean that much. I would do the same, by the way. And you can see when this guy comes in, he's nodding him to be very delicious, which obviously is not. So you can have an idea what I'm trying to say, what it really means to be going for a business. And maybe your client would be, maybe you would have a business meeting with a French business partner, and he might want to join you with this restaurant. And how would that be, how would that end up? So you can see that it's very important to understand, respect, recognize people, how they look around us. It's very important to make business decisions respecting those aesthetic. To somebody sushi is a delicacy, to some sushi is raw fish. So to some extremely spicy noodles, like you see in some of the food challenges, it's very hip and hit, and to some it's like horrible. They would never going to do go for that. So that's our first determinant, which is aesthetic. And I hope that now you understand, and now you would forgive, and now you would sustain, now you would bear some of the unaesthetic according to you, because to them it's fine. To them they look really nice. And the same goes with fashion industry and the cosmetic industry. How you judge people, how should you not be making stereotypical decisions and judgment, and look somebody down upon because just because they do not fit as per your aesthetic sense. We are moving on to our next determinant, which is education. It's very important that we understand why education is a very important part of our culture. So if you just pick the more educated country, which could be the European and the uh, European and Western countries, are statistically they are more educated. So when they are more educated, what happens is their people, their society are able to take more analytical decisions. So when you have a child a person who's 18-year-old, and the amount of education that person has got from the schooling versus someone from our country, 18-year-old, after the amount of education that they have got, I don't think their skills, their ability to be engaged in a particular employment to earn the same amount of money would be possible. And that's because, and when that happens, there's a disparity. And then when there's a disparity, it depends on the type of education. So whether you'd want to do a business in a particular country, it is also important for you to realize how much educated, or what is the level of education, understanding, analytical abilities of these host countries. Say, for example, you have a product which needs a lot of explanation. And if your target country is not that educated, if the people would be very easy to manipulate, then you would be, maybe for you it would be very good decision to expand your business there. Then again, you might want some of the countries to target where education level is very good, very high, so that you do not have to explain the benefit and necessity of a product. When you are buying off, you have seen many times that some of us, we put our masks over here when we are going out, and we feel like it's very normal. So if you would find a more educated country, you would know that I've just seen an interview where a CNN reporter, he had some sort of handheld device like this, and they were talking through the mouse. So they do not have to open the mouse like we do. Some of us do, I never do that. And they keep on talking like this, so that they do not even have to take the masks off and talk. So that's the one of the very telltale sign of some of a country who understands, realizes, because they have had enough educational backup foundation to be able to make a decision. Okay, so the difference between a safe product, difference between a bad product. When we were growing up, I literally grew up with Aktaka ice cream, or drinka we would call it. When at this age, I know that all of that was made with the cloth dye, orange color cloth dye. That's what they were made of. And it was in front of our school. And you can understand how education and buying decision does not always go hand in hand. And I'll show you a very relevant example on education and business decision. So this is an ad. This is a process of buying an IKEA. IKEA is a Swedish brand of furniture, which is, you have to, it comes in a box. So when it comes to your home, you would have to dismember and reassemble the product. So let's see what the process is.
How to shop at IKEA. A few insider tricks will help make your shopping experience at this mega store more efficient and enjoyable. You will need a computer with internet access, a weekday, a van or truck, a duty manager, required parts, parts numbers, and each item's article number. Optional, an as-is section. Step 1. Do some pre-shopping on IKEA's website. The site allows you to check if the item you want is in stock in the bricks and mortar store you plan to visit. It also tells you what aisle and bin you'll find the item in, saving you time in IKEA's notoriously cavernous stores. Step 2. If possible, shop on a weekday. Even in the evening, that's when the store is less crowded. Step 3. If you don't own a truck or van, see if you can borrow one to avoid delivery fees, and know ahead of time how fees are calculated. Some stores charge a delivery fee per item, others base the charge on weight, and some stores have a flat fee. Step 4. If an item is out of stock, ask for the duty manager. They have the power to find out if and when an item is being replenished, and whether or not they can sell you a floor model. If you're buying a lighting fixture, ask if it takes European-sized bulbs, which can be difficult to find in the US. If so, consider stocking up on bulbs at IKEA.
And it doesn't stop there, by the way. It doesn't stop. So if you ask me, Miss, do you want, let's go for, let's buy a chair, it's buying a furniture. I'll just take my car and I'll maybe go to Mirpur, Rokia Sharoni, and I'll just go to at best 3 or 4 maximum shops, and I'm just going to buy one. I cannot go through all those, you can see cannot go through all those steps to buy one item of furniture. Why? It's the way we were brought up. It's the way we analyze things. It's the way we take things to be complicated or not. So the more educated a culture is, the more educated people of a particular country is, it's very easy to understand, grasp, and even reassemble. If you ask my mom that, there's this chair that we got for you, but you have to assemble those furnitures. There's no way. There would be another business attached to an IKEA business, and they will say, hi, our mission statement is we assemble IKEA brands, because we won't do that. We do not like that sort of uncertainty, because that's our understanding level of, oh, why would I, I bought something, why would I do it? You have to come to our home and fix it for us. So the business model of one box furniture is I don't think it would be good for a country where education and understanding and analytical ability, deep learning thinking is at question. Okay, so that went our second determinant of culture, which is education. And a very sensitive topic, and when a teacher teaches this topic, when I'm doing this in class, I do give a disclaimer, because the examples, because the description, explanation that we end up giving might harm some group of people, and that intention is simply educational. Because if we do not explain, if we do not mention those explanations, if we do not give those examples, it would be very hard for us to pinpoint as business managers to teach you what not to do. So sometimes it's not our teacher's intention to hurt somebody's feeling. Rather, when we talk, we give lectures, there are so many things that comes in even our mind, and we tend to give you the best that's possible. And in that process, if some of our comment gets, it doesn't, you don't like it, do mention it. I would try my best. We would try our best to make sure that we correct it and we edit. However, I intend to not disclose or include any particular religion to say anything. So McDonald's decided to come to India, and because of the cultural value of ethics, depending rooted a lot from the religious belief of making religious belief of putting cow as a sacred animal, the core product of hamburger had to change. So the moment you think McDonald's, some of us would think of a big juicy burger. However, you cannot think McDonald's with hamburger in India. So you can see the effect religion it has. Even during Hajj, what happens is every year you think of all the business that relates around it: the hotel business, the airlines industry, the cloth industry, tasbih, zamzam water, everything. You have to pay for these things, tourism. So this is an effect of how people would making transfer exchange of money decision based on their belief of religion. Okay, so if you I bought a Quran Sharif last week because my colleague gave a post in social media because she said she bought it because the words, the verses are very clear to read, especially the translation are very neutrally written. So if I'm reading it, I would find it very easy to understand. So you can see, because of my belief on the religion that I follow, I have made a decision. I did not even see the price, I just ordered it. Similarly, when you go for a particular vacation, you'd especially when I have visited a lot of places, and when I go out, I do not eat meat outside. I prefer to eat fish only because of the halal issue. Just if you can remember, or if you can Google Kia or aromatic soap, where they say first halal soap in Bangladesh, and the amount of revenue they earned just by that one word, just because they have got to add that word halal in their product, and the amount of business they made. So this we cannot ignore the impact of religion in business. We cannot ignore, and let alone keep religion aside when we're trying to make a business decision at any point of time. Even in Bangladesh, when you are trying to do business, you have to let us leave our office by 3:30 during Ramadan time. You cannot force us to come and work on a Friday, especially because of the Jummah time and the Eid and everything. So you can see even our business decisions, our strategies, they revolve around the way we practice religion in our country. Okay, so you can see it's very interesting, and you cannot ignore. When I start teaching culture, 2 hours goes by, and student end up asking me, Mrs., it's our time is up. So that's how interesting I feel in trying to explain the effect of culture it has on business, and how we you as future business managers and leaders should not ignore the effect of it. So next thing is economy of a country, and how a country's economy affects our cultural aspect. To explain that, let's see this Facebook post first. This is from my own timeline. You can see that there's this one post. Both of these are during the lockdown. Okay, both of these posts are taken during the lockdown. One post is from someone who is enjoying the lockdown by making this delicious, pretty expensive chicken dum biryani and something with vermicelli that they have made. And right after that post, you can see it's my picture. That means I'm telling the truth. It is from my timeline that I've taken a screenshot of. And here this I could not take because I had to take, because suddenly it came on my timeline all together, and I had to take this for you to explain this phenomenon better. So one post, it says, you can obviously see that there's affluence, there's richness in this, the top one. And you can see that there's something has to do with this organization Vidyananda, and what they do provide food for the Pothoshishu. They provide food for the poor people who could not afford food or even bare necessities during this time. And the picture right beside it was, they were holding a pot of food. They had this, I think maybe the same biryani, but they had it cooked by the volunteers there. And how striking that is. Just imagine how I felt. And the post that I was following here, I used to cook something, and maybe I put up my recipe and all. But something has happened after that day. I never did that anymore. I never shared my recipe anymore, because it hurts. I'm engrossed with guilt that after seeing this post, in one picture this, and the other one, see how it is. And then the definition of luxury and definition of poverty does hurt. So what we have learned from here, I've taken, do check out this website. It says that people and their institution and the culture that they follow has to do a lot from the economic ability and the resources they have access to. Okay, how I behave, what I wear, the aesthetic part, remember the aesthetic part, the religious part, that I can go to perform Hajj this year or next year also, depends on my economic ability. So the richer Qatar, a country with highest GDP, they would be able to afford a lot of things. Because they could afford a lot of things, their cultural aspect would be different from Somalia, okay, where people are drinking dirt-filled water. And you can see the GDP and living standard does matter. You know, this is a very interesting picture that I have taken from Uncle Google, and you can see that how much money they would afford within even the country. Okay, how much it makes sense. The richest the country is, and the better is their standard of living. And yes, and that's how it affects the cultural decision and the product decision that you make. And because of the product decision you make, you look the way you do, you talk the way you do, and you buy the stuff that makes you who you are. And you cannot ignore one from the other. Economy is gone. And next we have our next determinant, political philosophy. And this is something which has been happening from generation, not just now. Imagine the Egyptian 5,000 years ago system, Pharaoh, okay, the hierarchy that they followed. And because of the hierarchy that they followed, the slaves would be giving birth to another generation of slaves. And the slaves would never want to become anything higher than them. The soldiers would always be giving birth to other soldiers. So this hierarchical policies, this hierarchical system is because who rules them. And the person who rules them and the system, that the way they are ruled, would be having a vast effect on the way you behave. Okay, if I live in a country where corruption or where mal system, or manipulation of power is evident, I would be neutral to things that are happening around me. Okay, so if I see a news of somebody forging coronavirus or COVID-19 reports, I do not get shocked that easily. I do not think, how could they do that? Rather, I think, okay, they did that and they got caught, and okay, and I move on and I create this lecture because I have an office tomorrow. I have to work. I keep on working. So you see how even how I'm even accustomed to things that's around us, and how we've been powered on. So if you realize the political socialization and the factors that make us who we are, you can understand how people are around us, and how these people makes what they are. It's because the political philosophy that they have. You will see very recent phenomenon that has happened, Black Lives Matter, and how this came to this, how Black Lives Matter movement resulted in a popular brand moving the fair word out of their 100 years old brand name into changing. They were not forced, they knew that this is the right approach to do it now or never. So you can see, even if you think about how people think around, how one political decision, one political system, one governing system affects even your business decision a lot. Some of us, we would imagine our flights from Bangladesh not going to Italy till October. Imagine the business consequences of that. Imagine the amount of students who wants to go for higher studies and maybe some of them also got accepted, but they cannot go now because of the system that we have lived in, because of the things that has happened, and how people see us, not because of me personally, but because of the institution we belong to, because of the system we belong to. So you have to realize with whom you want to do business with, and to whom not. So it's very sensitive thing to say, but however, we are part of it. We all are part of it. Moving on to our next component, language. It's very interesting. Language can be versed, unversed. Even the expression that I'm giving, you'd understand which way I'm going to. It could be spoken, it could be unspoken. It could be, the type of English language we use. It could be the way we speak. It could be the way we write something. I'll show you an example of blunders, how it has affected business. So when KFC finger licking good, they translated in China, they realized it meant it's good to eat your fingers off. That that can't be right. And in Pepsi, the slogan that they had in China, again, the translation read like Pepsi brings your ancestors back from the grave. That's bad. Okay. The Brazil, the word for Pinto is male private parts. You cannot name a car that, no way. HSBC in many countries, when it said do nothing, and the shortness of the too much of the naivety of this slogan might mean, yeah, we do nothing. HSBC does nothing. So that didn't work very well. Okay. And of course in USA, when you write something like that, it becomes a slang. It is a popular slang in USA, and you cannot you cannot mix humor with sales strategy. Sometimes it backfires like it did. We can share a very funny video. I think it's under 1 minute, how language also poses issues.
May I help you?
We'll be asking the questions, old man. Who are you?
You.
No, not me, you.
Yes, I am you.
Just answer the damn questions. Who are you?
I have told you.
Are you deaf?
No, you is blind.
I'm not blind, you blind.
That is what I just said.
You just said what?
I did not say what. I said you.
That's what I'm asking you.
And you is answering.
Shut up. You.
Yes?
Not you, him. What's your name?
Me.
Yes, you.
I am me. He's me. And I'm you.
Exactly. And that's why language is important. That's why understanding language in designing your business strategy, in designing your advertisement messages, when you are creating international expansion, you have to realize the way someone speaks, what the value of some of the words, the intensity of some of the double meaning of English words that might interchange, and it can even derail your business mission. So it's very important component of culture, which is language. And as business managers, you would have to take care of this part, because in certain ways, even now we are doing a lot of conversation using technology, and we have to speak in English. And in many cases, we have to do a lot of our work has shifted from face-to-face work, from emailing. So you can understand the value of writing a proper email. The value of proper business communication has risen a lot because of the new normal life that we're living in. So language is done. We have social structure. Society is culture. If on a blind side, we would say culture means society, and in some of the contexts they are interchangeable, synonymous, if you may say. So if we ignore how social structure works in my host country, and if I design product without thinking about the social value that they have, then we are not going to be very sustaining in our business. In many contexts, in our cultural context, if we do not give rent to bachelors. In many of the houses you have seen that bachelors not allowed to take rent. Small family, or when we say family, we mean this. This my actual family pictures. And it's not nuclear, and it's understandable where in the USA culture, what happens is, you become 18, you are supposed to leave your home. You do not stay with your parents anymore. But however, in our culture, in South Asian cultures, it's till the end of time you keep on living with your family. And it's very normal that the female leaves her mom and dad and her family and shifts to a new home. And it's very normal that she would have very less contact or very formal contact with her real family, and the new family becomes their own. And the products and services you can see around this picture, it's targeted for the family. You can see that this, in Indian context, it's very important to have this health. Father is very important figure in the society. So you can see that the father needs to fix his heart, not mom. I might think that because of the, the education culture that I belong to. So you can see that there's a men's picture on boosting heart health, whereas same brand Saffola, they are putting this picture that the mom is eating or the female is eating because she's supposed to be fit. So you can see the context of social structure. This is what the society wants, and that is why they create and design products or brand strategies or advertising strategies fitting to that need, because it's just the products are the representative of the society. So you can see this cruise ship advertisement, they have this family as well. So you can have an idea in South Asian cultures. Singapore, that's a picture of Singapore, and it's also like us. So they also have a sort of family, but they also have other options too. So if you're going there, again, there's a family. You can see that there's a relationship. So that means it's not for loner. So even with Disney World, it's all, most of the products, they do come back to society, they do come back to the social structure, and that's how it's easily connected with the way you do business, because people from the society is going to end up buying your product anyway. So you cannot ignore the value of society in trying to understand culture. And the last but not the least, and in fact everything that holds up, is material. How a sort of people that belong to a particular class or society or system sees as material, and how our revolution is backed up by the materials that we use. It said the physical creations that members of society make, use, share. I did not do any editing, trust me. I just Googled two words. In this first picture, I just Googled African culture, and you can see what Google is showing us. You can see this, these words. They're showing me these pictures. I did not do any editing. You can do the same thing, and you'll know that I'm not making this up. And after that, I went back and I also Googled Japanese culture. Here in Japanese culture, Google is not showing me anything old or anything traditional. You can see that Japan has buildings, Japan has great architecture but despite Africa having all the things as well, despite Africa is also very technologically knowledgeable country, but they are not showing the techno African pictures in Google on the first page, but they're doing it for Japan. And that gives you an idea how material is important to which culture, and how material makes up the culture what it is. It is a final component of culture that makes it what it is. When you see this video, I'm just going to play it for a few seconds. I know that I've been talking too much on this, but this is a topic that you cannot stop talking about. So let's hear it. So these are the new products that would be here or already here. So that's a drone that can be managed with this sensor. And a smart strap to make calls and signal. We also already have something like that anyway. And you have to do this. Okay. Tron identity disk. What's that? Whoa, okay. That's something that even I haven't heard of. So, and my understanding of some of the product versus not having any idea is who I am. That's what my culture is. And when you are trying to sell your products to me or to your business managers, you'd also have to realize how much oriented I am of material, how much abstract I am, and how much not abstract I am, how much I understand material, language, culture, everything very quickly, and how much important it is for anyone to realize a cultural determinant and make business decision according to it. Thank you. And it's been a long video, but do pause in between and go through the lectures, go through the assignments, and come back. Thank you.